What's up, everybody out there in Impactville? What's up, Greg, the VP in the house? Yeah, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Impacting Life 24/7 with your host, CL King, coming to you live from the High Definition Studios here in Impactville. The parts unknown. Listen, if you tune into this show, if you've ever tuned into this show, if you cannot get one thing out of what we are trying to do, the one thing I want you to grasp is we are trying to promote the idea of positive impact. There is so much negativity going on out there, Greg. There are baskets full of negativity that you can go find. You don't even have to pay for it. You don't even have to get out of bed to experience it. But here, I, being the sheriff of Impactville, and Greg, my loyal deputy. I'm just teasing. We have a plan, man. We're like, you know what? If this is the last thing we do on Earth, our plan is to impact lives 24/7. That's right. So we're here. I hope everybody's relaxed tonight. I didn't eat dinner tonight, Greg, before the show. And only Greg knows what that's about. So, yes, Impacting Life 24/7 it is literally the place. It is an idea that has metamorphosized into a place, a cathedral of resources. Every single night, Monday night, Tuesday night, and Thursday night, we come to you with one purpose. That is to bring people to you that are making an impact or who have been impacted, who can impact you. And I and Greg and our entire team believe that this is our purpose in life. I hope you feel that energy when we come to you. That, man, you know what? Impacting Life 24/7, every night, every time there's an opportunity to hear from Impacting Life 24/7, we recognize that it's going to be something that touches the human heart. And so thank you for tuning in to Impacting Life 24/7. We just got an update from one of our affiliates. And here's how we're doing things at Impacting Life 24/7. We're just slowly churning this butter, man. You know what I mean? Like you guys probably have just this. We want this to be a brand, a household name. The concept of you can tune into a place that is safe, that is uplifting, that is edifying, that's not just a bunch of junk that is going to pollute your mind with the gall and vitriol that's in this world. No. We want you, when you get that notification, or when you download, or when you go to YouTube or Spotify or Apple or Pandora or any of the other 30 platforms that carry this show, we want you to be inspired. And Podbean, who we switched to some time ago, when we first started out, we were with a different affiliate that was hosting our show. But Podbean, since we switched to them, they just gave us an update that just in this medium, there's been 3,000 downloads. Now, I know that there's some folks that are, they're like, well, I got 500 million downloads, and that's great. But this is just one of many places that people consume our content, whether it be YouTube. Oh, I figured out what the problem is. Whether it be YouTube or whether it be Facebook Live, because we do all of this all simultaneously. And then we project it out the same night. I had a guest on a couple days ago, and I said, listen, when we're done with this, you're not going to have to wait 17 months for the for the show to upload, and then you forgot that you were even on it. No, we'll have all the stuff for you the exact same night. The RSS feed gets blasted out to all of those carriers, and we have it for you the same night. That's why we do all of this stuff on the fly. We fly by wire here. You understand what I'm saying? That's why we needed lights and camera and expansive sound and you to be a part of what we're doing. So thank you, Greg. Thank you, brother, for all that you do. Greg, I was reviewing before I sent it to our second editor. I was reviewing the book, Who Ate My Brownie? And I was looking at my thanks and acknowledgments of people in the beginning, and obviously you rank right up there, right after Charity. And the one thing that I can say about a person like Greg is, and this is, Charity can confirm it. She just said this to me about you, Greg Smith, yesterday. She said, Greg Smith is the type of person that is not looking to see who gets the credit. Greg is about making a difference. Let's not have big eyes and little U's, but let's just do something to change the world. And that's the way Greg Smith is. When I wrote about him because of course I was privileged to write his foreword in his book. When I wrote about him in the acknowledgments and thanks and people who I love and care about and who the book is dedicated to, I talked about Greg being somebody that's for me. It's one thing, Greg, you got to stop saying yay in the chat. You got to stop saying yay. You're not allowed to say that no more. Or no angel emojis. It's not just enough it's one thing to have someone who is there with you, supporting the data and the drive and the motor and the engine that's moving forward. It's one thing to have someone in your corner that's like, yeah, okay, we see the processes and procedures and I support that. But it's another thing to have someone that's in your corner that will be there if it all falls apart. You cannot have a friend like Greg Smith. There's only one in this world. And he is not just for what we're doing. We have 4 or 5 different pillars that we're working here at this expansive ministry of sorts, right? We have 4 or 5 different things that we're doing. I mean, we travel up the street to go and speak to the occupants at the county jail. We'll be doing that next week. We provide free motivation, which we've done some research. There's not a lot of jails doing that. So Sheriff Chip Hughes is really setting a trend, and the word is getting out. The word is getting out that, hey, look, Sheriff Chip Hughes is trying anything to keep these people from coming back to him. And Greg and I take our time, our dime, our gas, and his chicken dinner to go do this. And then, of course, our coaching apparatus, where we're trying to coach people into understanding that branding is not virality. Okay, branding is not about getting 50 million views on TikTok. Okay, because there's a difference between, listen to me closely, there's a difference between followers and supporters. You understand that? There's a difference between, that's why I don't get hung up in it. My man Kev on Stage show where this girl had 2.4 million followers and could not sell a couple hundred t-shirts. So she's got 2.4 million followers and couldn't move the units of shirts that she was trying to move. And yet this other cat had way less followers, just a couple thousand, but he moved thousands of shirts because he had supporters. See, often I think what I got to get to the books, y'all. I know I'm supporting folks. Okay, this is support night. But I did want to say that, man, I want you to say about Impacting Life that we support you and we promote you more than you promote yourself. Okay, I want that to be the feeling That, man, this is not a place that is just. I know a professional speaker sometimes seem self-absorbed, but we combat that with promoting and talking about others. Okay. So, when you look at where you are tonight, it's a blessing to have someone in your corner that will say, man, I got you. Pre-release financial initiative in conjunction will help our friends on the inside before they get out. Those incarcerated need that type of support. Oh, that is so true, Dr. Dunlap. We need to brainstorm after we get our beachhead and our garrison established there, because Sheriff Chip Hughes is just really opening up to say, hey, man, we want something different. They have church services there, and there's nothing wrong with that. You guys know I believe in God, been serving him and been in ministry and leadership for years, but not all the time will the inmates go to a church service, okay? Because it's like that's not the flavor of what they need. Obviously, we need to save their soul, but they also need to be prepared to get out on the other side. When I talked to them last time we were there, it was like, okay, what is the root cause for us continuing to come back? And part of it is that we continue the same behaviors. And if you continue those same behaviors, it's like losing weight. You can lose all the weight you want, but if you continue the behaviors that got you obese in the first place, you'll revert right back to it. Okay, so I'm going through each one just like I promised tonight. First one is passing the test of faith. I had Eddie L. Johnson. I almost called him Eddie L. Long, and great man of God. And he wrote this book talking about passing the test of faith. And what it says is, as readers journey through this book of life experiences, they will learn how to move their mountains of trials and adversities and hardships using their faith and 3 fundamental steps. He gives you 3 steps in this book. The first one is starting with the right attitude. Now, attitude is, boy, that's good. The second one is walking with patience. And the third is hearing God's voice. So you can get this book, Eddie L. Johnson. He is the founder of E4 Inspiring Motivations, LLC. And go check him out at EddieLJohnson.com. See how that works? Just like that. That's called promoting others. I can't be there to build the entire fire for you, but I know that I can fan the flames. We don't do that enough for one another. We heap upon ourselves our own programs. Y'all gonna let me teach you why we work this thing through? So I say, man, everything I want to do is I want to always be seeing how I can fan somebody else's coals. I can't stay long, but I see you over here rubbing 2 sticks together. Let me fan for you. Let me fan. That's called promotion. That's called lifting other people up. And Eddie L. Long was a tremendous guest. Great man of God. The Golden Quest. We just had this gentleman on, and this is David Delisle. And he was so kind to give us a whole cache of these books. And the Golden Quest is, hey, look, he's teaching young people, Dr. Dunlap. This is where I really would like to get you two connected. David Delisle, he's up in Canada, but he's teaching young kids and educators how to teach them that how to only buy the awesome stuff. And it takes this cartoon journey, kind of like, it feels like the cartoon kind of feels like Calvin and Hobbes, but it's this journey that it just helps kids understand that it's not all just about X's and O's with money, but teaching them how to enjoy learning how to manage it and handle it and appreciate it and spend it. And so David Delisle is an amazing man. And the website that you can get this book from and contact with him is onlyBuyTheAwesomeStuff.com. OnlyBuyTheAwesomeStuff.com. A fun way to learn about money. The Golden Quest is a graphic novel about a young boy who embarks on a hero's journey with his dog Shelby to discover the golden rules of money. While on this adventure, he learns about spending, saving, investing, and giving. Ooh, giving is good. He also discovers money mindfulness and being aware what's truly important to you. Okay? So, yes, Kimberly Burke says she just received hers a week ago. Thank you again so much. Going to get my 12-year-old to read it. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Dr. Dunlap, if you would go back, circle back to him, there might be something that we could collaborate. You know, we are all about collaborating. And Dr. Dunlap, who I'll be talking about his book here in a bit. Let's see where Dr. Dunlap is. He's somewhere. He up here because he prominent. You know, we want to catch some young too, brother, where you don't have to do. Dr. Dunlap is having to do a lot of open heart surgeries across the country, and not literally, but I'm talking financially, helping people that have just been ravaged by bad behavior and life and not preparing. And so we'll talk about more about that in a little bit. Okay, so only the golden quest. Now this next this next person is an amazing person. Lost, Travel, Found, Turning Pain into Purpose. Now, this is my dear sister up there in the Buckeye State. She's been my friend for quite some time, been on this show. She's looking to help me promote my book. Soon as we got the release date, I'm going to turn her loose on it. But she wrote this book, Lost, Travel, Found, and it tells her story of surviving grief, finding herself across the planet, and falling madly in love. So what she does is she shares the first few decades of her life working through the unexpected loss of her father, navigating through the world on a solo trip, and supporting her husband through a devastating cancer diagnosis. You got to get this book in your hand. Let me tell you about her husband. Her husband is a miracle, a walking miracle. And he had a really rare but aggressive form of cancer that was all up in his nasal passages and on his face. He had to get some really dynamic reconstructive surgery to try to remove it all. And let me tell you something, man. Prayer is powerful. And you know, if you don't have faith, if your foundation is just money and acclaim and things, that all that stuff is gone in a vapor. With one diagnosis, none of that stuff means anything. And so Ashley's husband had this aggressive form of cancer, and they find this out prior to them even getting married. It's like, wait a minute, you could potentially die, and we're planning this wedding. Well, they went on with the wedding, went on to the honeymoon, and then they went back to the doctor, and the doctor says, we thought we got it all, but we didn't. And it's back, and it's more aggressive than ever. And you start getting your affairs in order. This is now after she's married. And they went back to some sort of revisiting or review of it and re-scanning of what it was, and it was scar tissue. It wasn't cancer. And so, when I had them on the show, it was just like a moment of rejoicing. So Lost, Travel, Found, you can get up with her very simply. I don't have her website right here, but you can go to Ashley Jackson and look her up on all social media platforms. I should have probably had all this stuff together, but I just, sometimes extemporaneous is my thing. I love doing things to bless people. And so you can find her book on Amazon and everywhere else. Lost, Travel, Found, Turning Pain into Purpose by Ashley Jackson from the Buckeye State. All right. Put on my books back here. I'm missing some books. You know why? Because I actually take these folks' books and read them, but I read them in different parts of the house or somewhere on the journey, and then I forget that I left them there. And then, I had to go find Dr. Skip Mondragon's book because I'm like, why isn't his book up here? Dr. Skip is a sponsor of Impact Life 24/7, a platinum sponsor, and a great friend to this show and to what we do. But Dr. Skip Mondragon has been on our show several times. He's actually been in one of our keynote speakers, I believe, for Midnight Motivation. And this book that he wrote is called Wrestling Depression is Not for Wimps. Wrestling Depression is Not for Wimps. And it's talking about lessons learned from an amateur wrestler's fight to triumph over depression. Now, Dr. Skip Mondragon is a seasoned physician Okay, he's a 26-year Army veteran, a national veterans wrestling champion, and he suffered in the military from depression. He tells the story. He's what do you call those things? He's a TEDx speaker, and he told his TEDx story where one day he came into his office, he closed the blind, he belabors that gives you the details. You can feel the chill in the room where he closes the blind, turns off the phone, cuts off the lights, walks behind his desk and crawls up under it because he was depressed. Now here he is, multiple combat tours, 36 months in theater, a colonel in the United States Army, which they don't just hand those out with a 2-piece meal at Bojangles, and a national wrestling champion, yet he was suffering from depression. So this book speaks so mightily because it is not to be taken for the faint of heart. Some people try to challenge him like, well, why you got to say wrestling depression is not for wimps? Because it's tough. It is not. It's not something you can just casually do. And sometimes people look at our status in life, the bars on our collar, the cars that we drive, the things that we have, the positions and the proximity to greatness that we have, and they don't realize the wrestle that's going on in our life. Dr. Skip Mondragon, dear friend of mine, friend of this show, sponsor of this show. Wrestling depression is not for wimps. And you can get a copy of his book. It came out copyright 2019, and he is an absolute amazing human being. He's an amazing man. I know he's in his mid to late 60s, and he still is on the wrestling mat physically, but he's also on the wrestling mat emotionally for those who are struggling. He's speaking out, especially to men, because we have built in this perception that we got to be tough, right? And things don't affect us, and you can't have any emotions but aggression, or you know what I mean. And Dr. Skip Mondragon goes through a very detailed description of how to overcome, how he overcame it. He had to humble himself and actually get therapy. Imagine that. Dr. Skip Mondragon, MD. I can't forget this book up here. This is from another one of our sponsors, Poet Katrina McCain. And I was blessed to have the copy of this. Of course, it's signed by the poet, and it's entitled Because She Decided to Love. Okay, Because She Decided to Love. This is a collection of poetry and prose about love and the impact that it has on every relationship. And love make you do some crazy things, won't it? This raw, uncut poetry book addresses the themes of how we experience love through loss, hurt, pain, suffering, grief, and passion. And poet Katrina McCain actually has another book in the office tonight that she just finished. And so Because She Decided to Love was her initial book, and it's full of the difference is it's almost like a Mortal Kombat. Sometimes you see how love pulls on you. And so thank you, poet Katrina McCain. And Because She Decided to Love is available at Poet Katrina McCain. Everywhere you type in Poet Katrina McCain, you will find this book. And I'm going to sit it there, because it does take me a bit to get this all set up, y'all. I don't have them glued up there. They're actual books, not like McDonald's when they have them fake burgers that make it look like it's real. Anyway, you guys know this gentleman right here, Greg Smith. He wrote the book 100 Simple Ways How to Manage a Successful Property and Evidence Room. And Greg, he said, man, you know what? I need to do this. He wrote this in 2020. I was blessed to write the foreword on there. And this is designed to be just what it says. 100 simple ways of doing old business through new ways that can lead to real success. Greg is a highly sought after property and evidence, as well as a forensics expert, and of course the VP of Impact Life 24/7. Bestseller, and I have seen some of the proceeds. He has done very well with this book. And if you're a police agency and you guys are struggling getting your evidence rooms together, I mean, this book goes through the do's and don'ts and how to make it better. Leadership from the bottom up. Many organizations are merely successful surviving off of antiquated policies and procedures. Now that will preach. Okay. We just continue to do what we do because we've always done that. And nobody ever says, well, it's policy, but have we ever looked and seen if the policy is still relevant for us? Is it still moving the agency forward? Is it still making us a cutting edge organization on the leading edge, or are we just still because it's policy? Huh? Well, that's good. Some churches do that same thing. They just been doing it for the last 150 years. That's what grandma did. That's what we're going to keep on doing. And you're going to have 3 or 4 people there for the rest of the time. Truth. Here's the deal. My friend, Lon Jordan, he's a content creator extraordinaire, professional speaker. The dude is just an absolute beast at creating content. But more than that, Lon Jordan, see, these people who have come into our life on Impact Life 24/7, he is a friend. We talk offline when he gets time because he's very busy. But he wants to help people understand about their unique design. And that title of his book is called Sketched by Design by Lon Jordan. This is for parents and educators to help to discover what's he going to help you do? Help you to discover your unique design in the 21st century marketplace. And if you are interested in hearing his content more frequently, you can reach out to us, reach out to Greg, become a part of our Leadership Institute. Lon puts out valuable keys every week in our Leadership Institute. Very short videos, 5 minutes long, gives you 3 keys, 3 tips. It's always so succinct and spot on. But in this book, he talks about gaining insight to the 21st century marketplace, turning your pain into purpose, effectively communicating with the Generation Y. I mean, we're getting further and further away in the alphabet. We're going to have to start coming up with different letters. And leave a legacy that will impact generations to come. That was one of the reasons why I'm writing the book, Lon, why I'm writing my book, is that I saw a quote that said, one of the ways to affect people from the grave, I be in the grave, who are yet to be created, folks that ain't even here yet, is to write a book. Let that legacy continue on. And I hope that my children's children, y'all know my granddaughter's here with me this week. I hope that her children's children get a copy of that book and realize the struggles that the kings went through to get to where we are today. Village Vibes. Hello, Village Vibes. This is my friend Flossie Jama. She's an RN and she is full of energy and life. Flossie, do you hear me out there? Flossie Jama. Yeah, she's RN, but she also had an acute. She had some medical problems, right? She had doctors saying, "Listen, you're not going to get any better," and she had an autoimmune disease. And so she's been in nursing for 26 years, and she has a passion to spread awareness to the community about how to keep your immune system strong through food that is clean and non-GMO. So no Burger King. And pesticide free. Her mission is to create awareness in the community on simple ways how to take care of responsibility in your own life and in your own health, how to take it back. And I got a copy of this book. Of course, it's signed, of course, by her. And she is not from America. She's from Africa. And her book and her personality go hand in hand. And I would suggest you get a copy of this book. Just go to simplelifehealthieryou.com and get a copy of her book. Of course, you can find Lon Jordan's at Sketched by Design. This book right here is by someone who I highly appreciate and esteem. And I purchased this book when it came out. And it came out in 2020. It came out in 2020 during the time when our world was upside down. I think it may be still slightly upside down. But this book, the book on prayer, really says it all. We were watching family members die. We were watching riots and demonstrations happen all across the country. We were seeing people convulsing with emotions. And Pastor Ken Gurley, who was the pastor of First Church in Pearland, Texas, he followed after God's heart and said, you know what? I'm going to write a book on prayer. And the reason why he wrote this book is to give us a better roadmap of how to infuse prayer into our everyday life. Not just that it's a prayer meeting that we go to at the church every once in a while. No. But really to understand how prayer is a part of our everyday life. You can go to the website to get a copy of this book, the book on prayer. It's not something that it's 10 times thicker than my book. So it's 300 and something pages, and it's exhaustive, talking about praying the name, made to make a difference, what prayer really is, which lane is presently open. So many great dynamic nuggets. And of course, he does a national devotion every single morning, and you can follow him at Ken Gurley. Follow him at Reverend Ken Gurley on Facebook. And this book has been a lifeline to many people during some very, very challenging times. Thank you, Pastor Gurley. And he didn't ask for that shameless plug, but of course, that's what we do here. My friend Michelle Perry, her book, The Pebble in My Shoe. This book is a book that will guide you to take back your power in life and live in a better way. Okay? Live in a more aware way is what she says. A way where peace of mind, gratitude, and purpose are the primary elements that help you create a life you actually want to be living. You know, ladies and gentlemen, that there are people, Greg, out there that are not happy with their life. They're not satisfied with their life at all. And Michelle Perry is somebody who she's more than just an author. She's got a master's degree in social work, and she has a heart after God. She is a woman of God, and she puts her faith and confidence in God. But she also gives us a roadmap. And you got to get this book in your hands, The Pebble in My Shoe, and just go to successfuldiligence.com to get a copy of it. It's just that simple. And Michelle Perry is a platinum sponsor on our show, and she says this book is for you if you want to if you want to understand why paying attention matters and how to pay attention. Realize that we are all on a journey through grief and can actually thrive in that journey. So very, very powerful book. Live in the power of attention. The Pebble in My Shoe. Take back your power and live in a better way. All right. Now, I'm going to see if I can get Michelle's book back up there without knocking everything else over. Oh, it worked. The 10-Day Journey. This is a 10-day power journal by a gentleman named Jonathan Hodges. And I heard him speak, Greg, at that tent event with, who was it that was the singer, brother, that we were at, that you were helping work that with Bonita, Bernie Simmons. Oh, what's his name, man? The gospel singer. He sang with Medea. Well, anyway, this brother is a minister of music and a music leader, and he is raised in Smithfield, North Carolina. Jonathan Hodges was reared to develop and cherish a spiritual walk with God and a natural walk with people he comes in contact with. Jonathan has never was never taught to see color or ethnicity or even disability. He only saw people and made a conscious decision to love them all equally. After encountering some obstacles as a different child, he says, whom would now be called a creative, Jonathan wanted to help other people like him feel okay being different and to express themselves. And so he put this journal together, 10-day power journal, daily fuel for those on a pathway to purpose. Sometimes, you know, and that's what I love about what we have in the studios here, ladies and gentlemen. Wes Morgan, thanks, Greg. Wes Morgan, we met him at this and at that event. And what I like about what he's put together here is he's given us a practical journal, feel, deal, and heal. And then he gives you an opportunity to write notes after each one, because everyone else is taken. So be you. And then he's got notes for you to be able to write and express. Journals are very, very important. And some people journal and need that outlet. And so the 10-day power journal is daily fuel for those on a pathway to purpose. And when I heard him talk for just a few moments, I said, man, and we got to reschedule him back on the show because we were going to have him on to talk about the book. But I said, you know what? He was kind enough to give me a copy of the book. I'm not going to not promote him. Okay. All right. So that's the 10-day journal. And then let's see here. Behind Closed Doors, this is, of course, Nisi Jordan's IamNisiJ.com. She is writing up and opening up about her past and being vulnerable to the world about the truth of molestation, physical, emotional abuse, verbal abuse. And it's been one of the hardest things that she has had to do in life was open up about that. And the reason why Nisi and I are so close is because Nisi is the granddaughter of Ruth E. Plowden. So Nisi, she's my cousin, but technically she would be considered my foster cousin. But we don't ever refer to each other like that. She saw me living as a broken kid with Mom Plowden and saw how mom turned my life around. And Nisi wrote about the struggles that she experienced as a young girl, being violated by family members. And, you know, we can kick the can down the road, but there's over 56 million people that have been physically and sexually abused as kids that are walking around today. They're in your cubicles. They're playing the organs at your church. They're taking your order at McDonald's. You know what I mean? That they are real people. And oftentimes they're struggling and they're hurting and they're bruised and they're carrying around these millstones. And so Nisi wrote about what happened behind closed doors. Very, very similar to my book, Who Ate My Brownie. A lot of people was like, that's a catchy title. It's not designed to be catchy. It was actually designed to, it's a question. And it's a question that actually was asked that has now turned into a metaphor. And I experienced some of the same grotesque, barbaric abuse as a kid as Nisi did. And it's unfortunate that just happens to be our story. I would love for it to just be, I was in Mayberry and I was walking through the lilies and everything was perfect. But it wasn't that way, and neither was Nisi's life. So young ladies, if you've experienced something like this, young men, get a copy of this book, Behind Closed Doors, because she has a journal that goes along with this. And she also has a kid's book talking about good touch, bad touch. It's very important. We can't just treat this stuff as taboo. It happens. Can the church say amen? It does. So my dear friend, Dr. Dunlap, he's been on an excursion pulling people out of pits. You know, he's waging mortal combat. Dr. Dunlap is a platinum sponsor on Impacting Life 24/7, and I have in my hands the book, What's Next? Preparing for Eternity. Okay? And it's written by Dr. Nate Dunlap. And there are 3 critical questions before you today. What does eternity mean to you? Where is eternity? And what is eternity? So as you read What's Next, it will challenge you to get serious about eternity, as well as give you a different perspective on what eternity will mean to those you leave behind. Dr. Dunlap's book is full of practical and spiritual suggestions to ensure your family won't live in what feels like a poverty-stricken, depressed, emotionally deprived, or wealth-eliminating eternity because you failed or refused to think about what's next or have a what's next moment. Dr. Dunlap says this in his book. He says, I realize that every household and family situation may not require everything offered in this book. However, there's one thing that I can guarantee. Within our families and communities and our households of faith, there will be something in at least one of the stages offered to you that will make things easier on everybody and help somebody get their affairs in order. Greg says this is a great book, and he means great, and I agree. Dr. Dunlap is a great man, and I mean great, great man. And he did sign it. He says this is about your legacy. I got the 2019 copy, baby. Yes, sir. And have had it ever since. And Dr. Dunlap is a man, I call him the modern day John the Baptist. He's crying out in the wilderness saying, hey, listen, don't leave your people to have to go and get on social media and do a GoFundMe to bury you. Did you hear what I'm saying? We got to get our affairs in order. He's like, okay, preparing for eternity. Don't leave people feeling like it's an eternity till their life is done because they've had to pick up the splintered pieces of your ill-prepared life. You know, with Tatiana coming back, that's my 10-year-old oldest granddaughter, it's caused me to reflect a little bit this week. Don't mind the gray. I'm just experimenting with seeing how long my wife will tolerate this. But it made me reflect that, man, Tatiana's 10. And she made me a grandfather 10 years ago. And now here she is getting ready to go into 5th grade. We think we got forever. We don't. And that's why you need to connect with somebody like Dr. Nate Dunlap. His goal is to reach 200,000 people with a message of preparedness and help them. PRFinstitute.org is where you can find Dr. Dunlap. Of course, you can find him on all social media platforms. But PRFinstitute.org. PRF. All right, Dr. Dunlap, there you go. You're back up there. And tonight, this is for those of you just tuning in live, this is what we're doing on Impacting Life 24/7. We are promoting every book that's in the studio tonight. Okay, we just wanted to do that. Didn't really plan it out. I just knew that I feel like God is always tugging at my heart to make sure that it's about others. It really is. I got a book coming out. It's at the 2nd edit right now. I'm going to need some folks' help to get it into people's hands, but not just for the sake of heaping wealth upon myself, but man, they need to hear from someone there, because there's people lurking in the shadows out there that have been broken for years. And they need to understand that, man, that adversity was bad, but you can still make it. That don't mean we don't absorb it. We don't take it in. We don't try to process it, but man, we don't let it destroy us. And some things that people have been violated with has destroyed them, and that, they're a shell of their former self. So this gentleman's book he was on our show, Dave Hollingsworth, is called Get Out the Door. I love it. Get out the door. It's how to overcome obstacles on the road to high performance. And sometimes, here's what happens, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes we think high performance it happens in first gear. And it doesn't. Okay? High performance doesn't happen in first gear. High performance happens when we get out the door. Okay? He talks about this, Dave Hollingsworth, because he was on our show. He's an award-winning speaker, author, storyteller who has performed on The Moth in D.C., improv, stand-up in New York, semifinalist at Toastmasters. So I'm telling you, we've had some amazing people on this show, Greg. He said when he got into his major wreck, I believe it was a motorcycle accident, he said one of the things that he had to do was stop feeling sorry for himself, and simply to get back active, he just had to get out the front door. That's what it was. It was like, get out of the door and put your foot in front of each other. And he's like, it didn't start with him running. It was just walking, maybe to the mailbox and back. But he got out the front door. Okay? And he said his motorcycle accident changed his life forever. Sent him on a journey of discovery with the ultimate goal to get out the door. He had some obstacles and setbacks, but then when it was all said and done, this dude's ran multiple marathons after being totally banged up and pinned up and everything else. It all started, though, with him just opening the front door and stepping out. I think about that with the things that we're doing with our company, and some of you out there are in the same scenario. Man, sometimes we just open the door and try it. We don't have all the answers, don't have all the specs, didn't do market research. We just open the front door and we walk out. I told Greg, I said, listen, brother, I want to go to the prisons. And he looked at me like, what? I said, yeah, man, I want to go in there, and I can't just go speak to the neatly polished Fortune 500 companies, though I will. But there's something raw and rugged about me, man, that I was forged in a crucible of adversity. I got to get to those that are experiencing the same. And when we went and talked to the sheriff, he was like, yes, let's do it. And Greg was like, okay, all right. and now it's like, we didn't have no major plan. I didn't have no 15-step process. I didn't put up stickies because I'm a Lean Six Sigma green belt of a process map of how I was going to get his recidivism rate down. I just said, I'm going out the front door. And I'm going to start there. And then when I come back, I'll walk from the front door to the mailbox. And that's what Hollingsworth was talking about. He started walking from the mailbox to back to the front door, and then from the mailbox to the end of the street, and then from the end of the street to around the corner, until running 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons with the Marine and the Marine Marathon. This guy did it after being dismantled in a motorcycle accident by simply taking one simple process called getting out the door. Woo! Come on, somebody. Sometimes it's that thin barrier that's holding us back from the true performance that we're looking for. I should get some little royalties off of that promotion there, Dave. Oh, man. I'm hustling, guys. Thank you for the extended version of Impacting Life 24/7. The little black funeral dress. I had Shirley Thiason on our show from Canada several weeks ago. And 12 days after her son's wedding, Shirley was thrown into an unimaginable task of planning his funeral. And she was in a store before her son passed. And God spoke to her and said, you need to buy that dress off of that rack. And she looked at it and was like, well, I don't need that dress. It's like, no, you need to get it. And she didn't realize that that dress was going to be the dress she wore to her son's funeral. Hope and resiliency gradually emerged as she learned to recycle the pain of loss for good. While everyone's grief journey is unique, there are tips to be shared and missteps to avoid, which is why I probably need to just have her every year, because one of the things that she talks about in here is the roller coaster of emotions. Let me hold that up to the camera for you guys to see. See, the graphic with the nice cavern right there is how we neatly want to package the stages of grief, right? Loss, shock, numbness, denial, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Well, the psychologists have given us a clear indication of the stages of grief. And yet, where you see the spaghetti diagram right there is truly what we go through. And she helped us on our show also for those who are supporting those who are grieving on things to say and not to say. You know, don't say, well, they're in a better place now. No, don't say that. She taught us that in this book, the little black funeral dress. She says 5 things I wish I had known about grief. Don't go up to someone and say, man, they're in a better place. At least they're not. No. Because we, as those that remain, we selfishly and rightfully so want them to be there. So your words of, well, they're in a better place. No, the better place would be with me. We all talk about wanting to go to heaven, but right now we are kind of enjoying what we got going on here. And Shirley really spoke to my heart, man. That she took something so tragic, none of us, I got 7 children, none of us ever anticipate burying our kids. None of us. We look to one day be propped up in that bed and our children gathered around our bedside because we were by their bedside when they came into the world, and they're by our bedside when our life is sunsetting. Nobody anticipates this. And furthermore, very few can take this grief and pain and put something together that can help. I know there's a lot of people that experienced loss during the pandemic. And she teaches us what to say, how to help. Some things are not to be said. Shirley, if I'm correct, you have a friend. Correct me if I'm wrong, Shirley, because I've had 2 people off with grief. But if I'm correct, you have a friend that sends you a message every anniversary of your son's passing or birthday, one of those anniversaries. Is that correct, Shirley? She's in live with us. She's in the chat. And thank you so much, Shirley, for this amazing book. That's something that she gives us a lesson about what to do. And I told her, I said, man, my friends, my brothers, every month. Okay, it's every month. Shirley says her friend sends her a text message every month on the 18th and has done that every month since her son passed. Now, you talk about commitment to a heart. That shook me when I heard that. Because like I said, my brother, Francis, and his Letitia, they lost Jordan, my nephew, back in July of 2020. And I was really trying to stay connected and reach out. And, you feel like, well, life, and then you just start, everything dissipates. And it's like, well, I guess everything's back to normal. But man, Shirley's friend has taken a cognizant and a diligent and it's almost like this is my mission in life. Shirley says it doesn't always have to be something profound, but it is just a reminder that someone cares. And a lot of people care in the immediate aftermath. But it gets real lonely, Greg, in the years to come. We just released some balloons for my mother-in-law. Charity helped with her mother's passing, and Shirley wrote such a beautiful note to Charity in here. Whew, feeling the emotions, y'all. And, we released those balloons where now we are on the 10th anniversary of her mother being gone. And I saw in Charity's eyes almost as if we were teleported back to 2012. I could see the emotion in her eyes. And the little black dress, sorry for spending so much time, y'all, but these are the types of people that we bring on this show. People of real impact. People that you need to connect with. And you can connect with Shirley very simply. Shirley Thiason. I did not plan all this out, Shirley, so if you want to put your website in the chat so I can read it out for them. I just decided I was going to bless everybody that had a book in my studios. And beautiful son right there. You guys can see him. Beautiful, beautiful son. We remember him September 14th, 1989 to October 18th, 2012. So connect with her and get this book, get this copy, because grief, we think we got it mastered, but man, Shirley has really got an amazing insight on things that we can do to help people grieving and understanding the ununderstandable piece of grief. ShirleyThiason.com. ShirleyThiason.com. That's ThiesSen.com. All right. Down just a couple more. Extended version of Impacting Life 24/7. I feel like, man, if I take time for others, I think God's going to make time for me. This book is Caregiver 2.0 from my dear friend, Miriam Baldwin. And she's in... Oh, Greg, please help me remember where she's at, brother. She's in, I should have looked. I do all this stuff from memory, and y'all, my memory is failing. She's 50,000 hours different from us. And it's not New Zealand. Oh, Lord, where is she from? But she has a story that it's more than just a story. She has created this blueprint for people who are caregivers. And we may all find ourselves in this position one day, caring for a sick loved one, long-term extended care for someone. And she had to care for her brother as well as her husband. And she's talking about how to go from burnout to powerhouse. She was the caregiver, taking care of her husband who had multiple ailments, and her brother. And she was burning out, y'all. She was losing it. She was falling apart. And she said, man, if I'm not well, if you're caring for someone and you're not well, you're not taking care of yourself, you're not even going to be there for the ones who need you. So she talks about caring for yourself. She talks about how to go from burnout to powerhouse. The two gentlemen that was in her life was her husband and her brother. Miriam Baldwin wrote this book in 2021. She talks about, she writes it as letters, and she writes letters to the caregivers in this book. And then she's talking to you, because I know there's many of you out there that are caring for elderly relatives who may have dementia or whatever, and you just feel weighted down like there's no escape. This book will help you. Marion Baldwin. And I will think about it when I lay my head down tonight, what part of the world she's in. She's always like, whenever I talk to her, it's usually in the future. And so you go to MarionBaldwin.com, and that's Marion Baldwin. How do you spell her last name? BOLDEWIJN.com. Okay, you can find her on Twitter, Clubhouse, YouTube, and she's a phenomenal lady. She's also helping with my book launch. Once we get the final date, after this next edit, y'all, we're gonna be on. I'll have my book up here. Then, of course, Forever Fit and Fabulous. Forever Fit and Flexible, feeling fabulous and feeling fabulous at 50 and beyond. Let me tell you about this book. I had this dear lady on, Cheryl I Love, out of Colorado, where Chris is at. And to look at her, you would think, oh, okay, maybe she's a yoga instructor. No, at 40 years old, Cheryl decided that she was going to become a ninja, and literally took up martial arts. In a room full of burly men, here comes this princess ballerina that everybody took for a joke, until you see how she handled her business and became an amazing black belt in that journey. Imagine starting each day with a spring in your step. Envision liking what you see in the full-length mirror before you get dressed. Now visualize that you can engage in any activity with strength, grace, and confidence. Forever Fit and Flexible with Cheryl I Love provides a program that will help you create this and more. Her movement lessons provide the building blocks for better posture. Whenever I have her on the show, I'm always like this. Yes, ma'am. Because that's the way she sits, and she's got ninja swords behind her. Eliminate chronic pain, improve injury-related mobility issues, experience increased energy, develop mindful awareness. And she is just an absolute phenom. We had her on the show twice. She's also got a second follow-up book to this. And so Forever Fit and Flexible, she is really showing people how to feel fabulous at 50 and beyond. And if you're winded going up the stairs, you need to get a copy of this book. Yep, Cheryl I Love. You can find her on all different major outlets, and just look up Forever Fit and Flexible. It's on Barnes & Noble and all the other book places. Of course, I got the new copy just released of Then the Unexpected Happened by poet Katrina McCain. And this is a follow-up to her first book, Because She Decided to Love. This is a poetry book. Then the Unexpected Happened leaves no stone unturned as it explores love and the aftermath of love. I love how she worded that. The aftermath of love. This fascinating poetry book was written in a time when the world was experiencing an unexpected pandemic. Recycled learned behavior were at their peak again. The emotional webs of personal relationships and the unpredictable conditions of the world were delicately penned in this riveting poetry book. PoetKatrinaMcCain.com. Yeah, you got to get a copy of it. A good friend, but a bad girl. Comparisons and confusion. Talks about grandma. Give back. You didn't. Obligations and situations. Ignite. Chocolate-covered excuses. Oh, I should make a speech about that one. Me meeting me. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. Took a whole show, but we did it. So connect with these people. Okay, we don't have them on here because I don't have anything else to do. Understand that my granddaughter's waiting downstairs for Pawpaw to take her to Dairy Queen as I promised. I know that's not healthy food, but just let me spoil her this week, okay, y'all? We'll get back on leaves and carrots next week. I've got plenty. My time, my family occupies me constantly. I really stay up super late to get this all in. So if we bring these people to you, we bring them to you that they may make an impact in your life. From every spectrum, every walk of life, Greg. From like, it's like this place is like a curated like I need to go to the library, pull out a card at Impact Life 24/7 to help me understand how to get flexible. And then I need to go, my finances is all jacked up. Oh, they talk about that with Dr. Nate Dunlap. Oh, and man, I'm struggling with taking care of a loved sick one. Oh man, they got that with Marion Baldwin. And oh man, I lost my parents, Lost Travel Found, or The Little Black Dress. I mean, it is just literally endless. What this show is blessed to do. And so I told Greg, sometimes they usually get the message a couple days ahead, but then sometimes they get it the night of. Hey, this is what we're doing. Because I just always want to be mindful that it's about others. Like Pastor Gurley in his book, The Book on Prayer, their church, First Church in Pearland, Texas. Their one word model for their entire church, and they got a beautiful, massive campus there in Pearland, which we visit every year, is others. And I know I told God, I said, I got some things that I want to see manifest. But I said, if I don't see them manifest and I can help maybe manifest some things in somebody else's life, bring it on. Let me fan the flames. I hope this has been a blessing to y'all. I strutted in like the choir. I ain't going to strut out because I won't be able to shut the show down. I love y'all. We appreciate you. Tune back in Monday night, Tuesday night, Thursday night, Impacting Life 24/7. One of our affiliates just said we downloaded 3,000 episodes. And so we're just continuing to plug away. We're approaching 300 episodes. And we're not building a business. We're building a brand. And the brand is about impact. It's just that simple. All right. Until next time, take care. God bless. Talk to you again soon.